Looking around, I finally see I think I need a change. The rat race, I wanna flee, my world I'll rearrange. I'm getting back to the roots of how it's meant to be. Growing gardens, picking fruit, racing livestock, living free. It's a modern homestead. Build a modern homestead.
Hello and welcome to the Modern Homesteading Podcast. I'm your host, Harold Thornborough, joined again by
Rachel Jameson.
Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, a little tired.
Yeah, what's going on the homestead? Anything new?
Well, last night, at around 11 o'clock, I heard my husband messing around, and apparently we were having some septic tank issues.
Fun times.
It always happens at night when it's 24 degrees and it's snowing out. It's just the way it is. But that's one of the joys of owning a homestead that has a septic system.
Yep. Well, I'm on city sewer, and it happens with me too on the pipes.
Oh, okay.
So I've had the sewer pipe plug up on the worst of times, and I've had to actually it's probably too much information, but I've literally had to stand in a basement with sewage to try to unplug a pipe and then scrub a basement down afterwards all night long and go to work the next morning. So I've been there.
Yeah, I'm gonna count myself. This was the good part, is we didn't have any backups. We caught it before then. We just noticed the toilet was acting funny in our downstairs, and we're like, something's weird.
Yeah, I've had to deal with it too. So yeah, that's not a fun thing. That's not fun.
It was just
at
the
all.
timing of it all. We get up at 4, and 11 o'clock at night to be running around outside in the cold and snow, and because we've got snow here and we have 8 to 10 more inches coming. Yeah,
we got a couple inches here, and I know last week we did our episode on using the fallen leaves, and now too late. We put that episode out too late because we got snow all over all those leaves. If anybody had plans to grab them,
right? I mean, at least if you're anywhere near us, but maybe. Well, right now it's not looking like it'll melt.
Yeah,
we might get fortunate enough for some of it to melt.
Well, we got a couple inches, and then it mostly melted. We got mostly ground showing through, but we're getting a couple more inches tonight, so it's just kind of keep on going. We got some really cold temperatures coming in, like low teens this weekend here, so it's going to be cold.
Nice. I actually enjoy the cold because once the leaves are down and the snow comes, our allergies get better.
Yeah. The only thing I like about cold is come summer next year, it seems to kill off a lot of the insect, the bugs, the mosquitoes, and the annoying bugs and stuff.
Although
the cold winter.
It's been several years since we've had a normal winter here, like a really cold with lots of snow here. So
yeah, this one's already starting off colder than what we've had for a few years. So I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to go. Yeah. So you growing anything right now? Or the peppers kicking up or doing anything different?
The peppers are kind of stunted, but they're in a bay window in my
I didn't
upstairs. And I didn't get a chance to move those today. So I think the cold is probably stunting them. So today I was like, let's see how much I can get done in an hour before I go to work. So I got a bunch of seeds planted for my indoor garden.
Okay.
And tomorrow I'll probably haul down those peppers.
Like lettuce?
I think they'll like the heat. Yeah. So I planted a couple different kinds of lettuce, some radishes, some peas, arugula, basil, and cilantro. I tried to pick the things that were easier for me to grow inside and that we would eat a lot of. Yep.
Sure.
So, and then I started my microgreens.
Like a mixture seed on that? Is it like
that is just, I honestly can't tell you what it is, except for I know there's mung beans in it and there's radish and broccoli in it. It was
okay, so a mix.
It's called salad blend, but I had put it in a jar to keep it good, and I can't remember exactly. But awesome. So I started those. I started 2 trays of those, and then I'll start a couple more in a couple more days and keep that rotation going. But that's been my day, and then it's been cold at night, and it gets dark at 5 o'clock. So I brought out my knitting needles.
That's your thing in the wintertime, huh? The dark nights.
Well, reading or knitting needle or knitting What I should be doing is going through photos and scanning them, but I'm not. I do a lot of reading, knitting, sewing.
Awesome.
That kind of stuff.
Well, that's not a waste of time. That's for sure. You can do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but my daughter, one of my daughters is pretty into it, and she makes some pretty neat things. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not the greatest knitter. I make a lot of washcloths and I can make socks, but they're like tube socks. I can do the ones with the heel in them, but they take so much effort and I actually have to pay attention and I don't have a large. So I just make tube socks and you put them on.
She likes to knit scarves and things.
Yeah.
Winter scarves. Yeah. I haven't got my marker green started yet. I probably should get those going. I have them out in the green. I have the trays out in the greenhouse. I was going to start those. I got a little sidetracked though. Because we have so much cold weather coming in so fast, I've been cutting and splitting a lot of wood. I brought all that wood home, a whole truckload of that wood home from the campground. And, that wood stove I put in the greenhouse is pretty small. So, of course, all of these logs are too long for that wood stove in the greenhouse. So I've had to cut all those logs in half. And then most of them I've had to split and get a little smaller radius too, because the door is even pretty small on that. I mean, I love the idea that it's a small wood stove because it's perfect. The heat it puts off is just really perfect for that greenhouse. I mean, you can get 80 degrees in there, but it ain't like it's running you out or anything necessarily. But I've definitely had to rework all of the wood. So I've been cutting and splitting and all that. So yeah. That's what I've been doing a lot of. And I kind of had to fine tune the aquaponics system. I noticed that it was, the water was coming up a little too high in it. And the way I have it designed is I have the filler tubes, set the height where it comes up and then you have an overflow that it goes down where that sets the height of how high the water comes up. And then, so I had to cut those down a little bit to get the water level down a little bit because it was actually just staying wet on the top, which is what you don't want. So I had to lower the water a little bit, and I actually am running it less too because it was really too much water. I'm running it for 4 minutes every 2 hours is all it runs. So 48 minutes every 24 hours, 5.5 hours a week. So it's
pretty low,
pretty minimal on the
cool.
As far as circulating the water through that, and it's plenty wet enough. Everything still looks almost too wet, but it seems to be growing good. I got peas that are probably 5 or 6 inches tall. I have a broccoli and cauliflower up. I have cress, spinach. A lot of things look like they're doing really, really well in there. So I think it's going to grow and grow fast.
So are you growing your broccoli and cauliflower for their heads or for the sprout?
Heads. I'm going to try.
Oh.
I'm going to try. I'm going to see how big it gets. I've never grown it in the aquaponics system, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to see how big it gets and how fast it grows. So I don't know. I mean, it's all experiment to me. I've done aquaponics a lot, but I've always just kind of stuck to the leafy greens and, kept it simple. And I don't know, I felt like a challenge. I thought, well, you know what? Got the greenhouse all set up. So let's see what we can do. And it's nice out there. And why not waste a little time in the greenhouse?
Sounds very
I'm okay
pleasant.
with it. Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about on the podcast Thanksgiving on the homestead. It's right around the corner. It's next week. Well, when this comes out, it's going to be just a couple days away.
Right.
So, so we thought we would just have an episode where we talk about eating on the homestead. Fixing meals and the kind of food that we like to have. Is more of a personal episode. Maybe we can talk about the things we like. You have some diet restrictions that I don't have. So you definitely have to enjoy different things. And, I throw my diet out the window for Thanksgiving. I don't care. I'm eating anything sweet or not. I don't care. I'm going to carry my belly out in a wheelbarrow. I'm eating. And, because I love Thanksgiving. It is my favorite holiday. And we cook good, we eat good, and we have a lot of fun. It's just always an enjoyable day for us. And are there any things you do special on Thanksgiving, like any kind of traditions?
Well, it depends on which family we're with. My family tends to go around the table and talk about what they're thankful for.
Yeah.
Nice. My husband's family's more of they play a lot of games.
Yeah, board games and stuff. Yeah. But you
games
get
and puzzles.
But is your house the household that the family gathers at?
Never for my husband's family, but often for my family.
Okay. Yeah, we generally do. Yeah.
Yeah, usually if it's with his family, we gather at his sister's house.
Mm-hmm.
And because she's got lots of grandkids. So, yeah.
Our house seems to be the place. I don't know. We have, all the kids have families, but everybody comes here. And then we have a lot of times, my wife's sister's family will come over and stuff. And we just tend to have this big old gathering in our house, and we don't have a big giant house or anything, but it's a great time. Everybody gathers around, and I guess they know where the good food's at. Because it seems like the place. But you're right. I mean, we talk about things are, we were blessed with this last year, especially. It's kind of the focus, of Thanksgiving, the blessings we've had over the last few months, and we watch a little football.
Yeah. My husband's family is big into football. Our family is more like, is there NASCAR or something?
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I used to be a lot more into football than I am anymore. I don't get into it as much as I used to. I used to really be into it, but yeah, it's part of it too. But it's more about just gathering around and having some good conversation and spending some time with each other, and and we do that, and that's just our tradition. It's not, we don't do anything super special. Usually after Thanksgiving dinner and everybody leaves, we put up the Christmas tree.
Oh,
it's what we almost always put it up after everybody goes home. So we'll stay up that evening and stick the Christmas tree up, get everything ready for Christmas, start putting up lights. And my wife's really into snowmen for some reason, so she has to build her little snowman altar on one of our tables, and have that all up. But it's a good time. We just listen to Christmas music after Thanksgiving, and we do that stuff and start getting ready for that next holiday. And
fun.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing. Yeah, that's kind of our thing.
Well, the other thing I forgot to mention is Thanksgiving is usually a big hunter day for all of the men. My husband came from a very strong outdoorsman family, so they do a lot of hunting and fishing. So we don't usually eat until the guys come in from the woods.
Oh, so they go out that day, huh? And hunt and
often. It depends. It depends on how fortunate they have been before.
Have they ever got a deer on Thanksgiving?
Yes.
So does that interrupt the meal in the evening? Because now they have to tend to that.
Not usually, because usually it's cold enough.
Okay, just hang it and let it go.
Yeah,
so,
because our hunting season here in Michigan, rifle season anyway, is November 15th.
Yeah, here too.
So, and it ends November 30th. So,
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I don't dare venture out to the woods on Thanksgiving. There's too much going on.
Yeah, I didn't. When I came into this family, that was a huge part of it, and you don't dare ask them to not go to the woods.
That's fine though. I think it's neat. Yeah, that they have their tradition, and I think that's pretty special. I think it's fun. Yeah. Now, used to like when I was a kid and everything growing up, my mom and other people would go shopping on Thanksgiving because they always had like the sales would start, and everybody would hit. Now they don't even open. Like this year, I noticed the stores aren't even open on Thanksgiving around here.
Okay, I have to admit, I may have gone shopping a few times on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, my wife has too, but yeah, they're not even doing it this year. Like all these stores are closed.
They aren't. It just makes
me too.
Chaos.
Me too.
Yeah,
but she'll go out and fight those crowds, and I'm like, you have at it. I'm staying here. And honestly, I would usually stay home with the kids or whatever while they went out. Like if we had little kids, like grandkids and things, I would stay home and say, have fun, because I don't want that. I want no part of those lines and crowds and stuff. But yeah, it was a big thing for years around here too. But I don't know if I call that a tradition other than just something that happens.
Right. Yeah.
You do get some good deals though. I've noticed that. But
they used to run some nice. Now you have to get up the next day.
I'd rather just do the Cyber Monday thing and get them online and have it shipped to my house.
I must admit, I do enjoy the new economy of ordering online and having it arrive at my door. Me too.
I know it's horrible in some ways, but oh man,
I feel a little guilty sometimes. But
yeah, that's really probably
homesteaders.
That thought process. Unfortunately, though, has probably put a lot of people out of business because a lot of people think like that. A lot of mom and pop stores no longer exist because of that transition, I think. But times change, and I know, a lot of mom and pop stores have moved online even to do online sales through like Etsy and things like that. So, I mean, it's just you have to kind of roll with the tide and figure out another way, But maybe Thanksgiving on the homestead looks different in other ways when you're a homesteader, because maybe the food looks different, right? So we wanted to talk a little bit about, eating, I mean, it's not traditional. Like when I grew up, we were kind of homesteaders, but we had cows and pigs and everything. But I would say that lot of food came out of cans and boxes, you know, when I was growing up. I mean, it's just the way we ate, you know, and even when, a few years ago, up until just a few years ago, it's probably the case too. You know, we'd open up a can of yams and some stovetop stuffing and go down and grab a butterball, and you know, it was all just right from the store. And our meals have definitely changed quite a bit over these last few years. And we got a couple of years, we got a heritage breed turkey, and they're here's what I'll say about heritage breed turkeys is they're different. They're different than what you buy at the store at Thanksgiving. Like, if you're going to go down and get the old butterball or something like that, a heritage breed turkey will taste different and cook different, and might taste way different if you don't cook it different. Might not taste good even if you don't cook it different. I think the two we've had before, we've had a bourbon red and a midget white, and I like the bourbon red better than the midget white. Have you ever had either one of those?
I don't think that I have. And I was trying to remember what kind, where I have gotten mine in the past, what breed they were. And I don't know. I don't remember, or I didn't know ever.
And I hate to say it, but this year we didn't get one because the person we used to get them off of didn't raise any turkeys this year.
Right. And we were going to raise turkeys with my mom this year, and it just didn't happen. Life happened. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, but the thing we noticed the first year we had one, and then we cooked it like we would like a turkey from the store, and it was really dry. And there's a big difference in the taste because there's the fat ratio is different. The dark meat to white meat ratio is different. The size, of course, is different. They're a smaller turkey than what you would generally buy at the store. So they just have to be cooked a little different and prepared. And you got to know what you're dealing with. And what we figured out was, like, the second year we got one was that they need to be cooked. Well, we actually inquired about cooking one to be a little, like, how do you cook this? Because it didn't come out perfect last year, and it was a little less time but a higher temperature is what they said. So we went with a higher temperature and a quicker a bake and a roast, and it came out perfect. I mean, I think we like basted it once, like in the middle of the cook time, and just to give it some moisture, and it was perfect. It came out great. I mean, it was super moist and just tasted great. So there was just a trick to cooking them. Now, how do you usually cook yours though?
Brine them in a 5-gallon bucket.
Okay.
It's a pound of salt to a gallon of water, and obviously you're not going to fill the 5-gallon bucket up with water, because when you put the turkey in, it's going to overflow. But we brine ours, and especially if you're getting one that not from the store, if you're getting it from a friend or something like that raised them, they don't inject them full of all of the stuff that like if you get them from the store, they inject them with that sodium stuff or whatever it is, and it definitely adds to the moisture content. So if you brine them, they end up it helps a lot with the moisture of the turkey. And then we bake it. I'd love to smoke one, but we haven't done that yet.
When we roast it, my wife always puts like some chicken stock in the bottom of the pan, which helps kind of, and then uses that to keep them moist. And that'll, that definitely helps to moisten them up quite a bit. Or she'll put them in like a bag and then pour some of it in the bag and then put some in the pan. Right. It really helps to do all that. So, it's always super. I guess I should put this disclaimer out right now that I'm not the majority. I don't do a majority of the cooking in this family. My wife does. So for me to even sit here and talk about cooking these meals, it's like, and I can't get her to come on the podcast. So I'm just kind of like, well, I watch her and I talk to her a little bit about this before we do the podcast. So the things I'm saying, and if something don't sound quite right, maybe it isn't because I don't do most of the cooking. Let's just put it that way. I'm a big breakfast cooker. Now I do like all the breakfast cooking. Yeah, there's stuff to be cooked for breakfast, but the rest of the meals, that's her. Thanksgiving, it's all her. She cooks most of the stuff. So I will help. I will cut things and hand them to her. Well,
the good news is I am the baker, chef, and cooker in my home.
You have the insights we need here. So do you find the heritage breeds or the turkey that's been raised on a farm tastes a lot different than the store-bought?
Yes. And the turkeys and the chickens. I did the same thing with both turkey and chicken the first time we got them. It was like, what did I do wrong? These are so dry and tough.
And they're just different too. There is a different taste to them even. And maybe it's an acquired taste. I don't know, but yeah, they're definitely different.
Well, I think some of it too is the feed. Usually when you get somebody that breeds locally, they care enough to get really good feed, and they're not just pumping and they're not just using, soy feed to get them to grow faster type of thing too. So,
right.
Yeah. So you get a different flavor in the fat, and a lot of them, when they're free range, they probably have built up muscle from running around as opposed to sitting in a cage getting stuffed full of food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're one of them nose to tail people. You like to eat everything.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you probably put all the goodies back in, you like have to have it all in there.
I don't make everybody eat them. I let them know what they're eating.
But you're throwing the feet and the innards and the neck.
Yeah.
And...
So the feet I use late for broth, which then makes gravy.
They make great,
everybody likes gravy.
Yeah.
So we use that in the broth, and then the neck will boil down and we'll pull the meat off, and we'll use that in the broth that eventually makes gravy. Now our family likes the gizzards and the liver in the gravy. Don't tell my nephews that though. And
yeah. Well, I mean,
and so we put all of that back into the gravy.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's how my mom taught me how to make gravy. My mom is like the world's best gravy maker. She doesn't measure any of it. She just, if you ask her how she makes it, she can't tell you. She just makes it. It just happens.
I'm a pretty good gravy maker too, but I make it out of squirrel meat, and I love squirrel gravy.
That sounds good. Yeah.
It makes a really good gravy. I don't know what it is about squirrel meat, but it makes a great gravy.
One of my mom's biggest frustrations in life was when we were diagnosed with celiac disease, and then she had to use cornstarch to thicken her gravy instead of flour. Yeah, she's like, the consistency will never be the same.
Well, I'm sure, but sacrifices have to be made.
Right. Yes. But yeah. So yeah, we use as much as we can of it. And then we'll, of course, I mean, you get that big carcass when you're done. That turns into broth.
Yes. Always.
For the rest of the week's meals.
Yep, absolutely. You got to make some other meals out of that, the leftovers, and then make your broth. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we do that too. So that might look a little different than most families on Thanksgiving with they grab their turkey. And has your husband ever shot a turkey and you guys had a wild turkey for?
He hasn't. I would love it if he would. Every year I tell him, we need to get a turkey license. Cause I actually have a, I've actually gone to hunter safety and gotten my permit and stuff too, but I've never shot one either. And I would love to. Yeah.
I've had one. We shot one, and I shot one, and we've had it, but not for Thanksgiving. We didn't eat it for Thanksgiving. How does
that compare to?
It is completely different. It's
completely different even from.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, way leaner bird. I guess it depends on what time of the year you shoot them too. We do the spring hunt here, and it's just a way different everything. I mean, it's a lot more dark meat, a lot less fat, and it's a different fat too. The fat has a taste to it that's just different. But yeah, quite a bit different and a lot smaller also. Right. Yeah. But yeah, but we never have it for Thanksgiving, but like I said, it was earlier in the year, but yeah, interesting. So
do you guys eat turkey for Thanksgiving every year, or do you ever eat ham?
We eat both because we have people in the family who don't like turkey and only like ham. And we have people who don't like the ham, so they eat the turkey. They go back and forth. So we always fix both. We always have both. Always.
Interesting. I never thought about that. That's a good idea. Actually.
Yeah, we do both because so we always have, but then everybody gets sent home with some too. So we don't have this huge amount of leftovers too, because we always have a lot of leftovers, so, but yeah, we do the both. And do you do pasture raised ham when you do ham, or do you ever have ham for Thanksgiving, or do you just do turkey?
I don't think we've ever had it for Thanksgiving.
Okay. But if you were to do it would be pasture raised, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. Mine would be pasture raised Mangalitsa, hands down. I don't think I will ever eat anything but Mangalitsa hog ever again.
I've never had it, but it sounds
very
delicious.
Fatty.
Is it? Well, that's why you like it. Yeah. Be extra healthy then.
But the hams, they just don't dry out because of all that fat. They're amazing.
And you get them smoked. You have them smoked, and
no, we smoke it.
You smoke it. Okay.
Yeah. Because when we get ours, we usually we cut it up ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we we buy it from somebody that raises them, and then we do the rest of it.
I think we get pasture raised pork also. And I think our hams I think they're Tamworth.
Okay.
But they're pasture raised, and they're pretty good. I mean, they're not, I wouldn't say that it's definitely, well, in the ham, I don't notice as big of a difference. Now, when you're eating things like pork chops and things like that from it, it seems like it's quite a bit different than what we buy at the store. But I don't notice the ham being way different. We have it smoked at the butcher too. So it's already done. So I guess that gives it an identifiable taste. Right. But yeah, it's really good and we like it, but we don't really treat it any different than we would a store-bought ham, smoked one that's smoked from the store. But it's really, really good. I like. Yeah,
I don't really treat ours any differently either, other than there's so much fat that we do cut off some of it. But there's
the Mangalitsa, it's a little bit smaller though, isn't it? Is it a smaller ham?
Oh, they're huge.
Really? I mean, it's not as big as a Tamworth. It's not like full-size pig. I mean, they're not as big as like some of the production pigs, are they? I thought they were smaller.
It depends on how long you let them grow out.
Well, of course, but I thought they were a little bit smaller than a.
They're pretty big.
Okay.
And they're considered a lard hog more than a meat hog.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And the meat is red.
Yeah. I do think that even on the Tamworths that are pasture raised, the meat is more red. Also, actually, the pork chops, especially. Yeah.
Once you get a pasture raised pig, you never go back to store pork.
Yeah, we flip back and forth. We do buy some occasionally, but we do usually get a pig at least a year from a farmer.
We usually get a half a pig or a pig a year.
Yeah. So, but we still sometimes eat a little bit more than that in certain things. Like we'll need more bacon, of course, or we'll need more pork chops. But you get those nice big hams and things too that are nice. But yeah, I mean, it's a little different. I mean, our meat, like I said, because it's pasture raised, there's some slight differences with turkey. I think they're different. There's more of a difference than with our hams, but again, sure. We really enjoy those. And any chance we get, maybe that's why everybody comes to our house for Thanksgiving, because we got that good meat. I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
But the main dishes aren't the only thing. We like some good side dishes, and you know what? When you're a homesteader, you got that pantry there, just begging to be used of all the things you put up all year. So it's kind of the time to shine, pantry, get out there and show us what you can make, and you can put together some pretty nice side dishes and desserts with the things in your pantry for sure. Green bean casserole is just a given. You have to have that at Thanksgiving dinner. Oh, you guys have that?
No. No, we don't. It used to be a big part of it. And then, all of us got celiac and then we just kind of moved on to other things. But I think that the green bean casserole
see, your diet restrictions are going to keep you from a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. The green bean casserole, though, it's like one of those things people either love it or they hate it.
I love it. It's so good.
I did like it. But of course, the soup, if you use the traditional recipe, it calls for the can of soup.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, though, we're putting a link in the show notes for a recipe for green bean casserole from scratch. So you won't be doing the soup, which is nice. So you can kind of do it the way you should do it.
Now that I think I'm going to have to try, because
that recipe is actually from Melissa K. Norris, and it looks delicious. Yeah. And I've never tried it, but it looks great.
I'm going to have to try it and convert it so that we can eat it, because I actually have oyster mushrooms that that a friend grew on their logs, and I have tons of green beans from the garden. So I'm going to have to try it.
Well, you brought in that mega potato harvest this year. So
yes, mashed potatoes.
Yes. It's always nice to have those big old bowl of mashed potatoes being served right from the garden. I mean, you think about that. Yeah. I mean, that's just you had a huge green bean and potato harvest this year. I did. So
these are perfect. My husband actually, we made some potatoes yesterday, and he was like, man, these mashed potatoes are so good. They're so sweet.
Yeah.
So I think it's just fresh, but
now, you're doing your big gluten-free dough right now. Do you make biscuits out of those? Or just
I have not tried it yet, so I'm going to have to try it.
I wonder if you might try some biscuits with that gluten-free sourdough.
I know. I see that you've got the sourdough biscuits. I'm like,
sourdough biscuits are good. Now, I like, I'm a good big buttermilk biscuit guy too, but no doubt about it. We do sourdough here too, and it definitely adds a layer of health to having the sourdough versus the buttermilk. But
do you add buttermilk to the sourdough?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Instead of the what? I didn't read the recipe, but yeah. I put buttermilk in my mashed potatoes.
Yeah. The recipe we use for the sourdough is just straight up, or for, it's just straight up like you would make bread pretty much. You're just making biscuits out of it. So you're adding a few extra ingredients, but it's the same. It's just biscuits instead.
Right.
A lot of people make biscuits or pancakes or whatever with what they throw out. You have to discard. You have to throw out the discard. So people will either make biscuits or pancakes or something like that with a discard. And so you just make a bigger batch of it for Thanksgiving.
Crackers. I've been making discard crackers.
Sourdough crackers. I like to share that recipe sometime. I like to try that.
Yeah, it's yummy.
They
taste like
really
they've got cheese in them, and they don't, because
really
it's sourdough tangy.
But that's your gluten-free sourdough, though. It's a little different. Yeah, I use the Icorn sourdough or the Icorn flour in my sourdough. So
it probably has a bit of a different flavor. So my sourdough recipe, the base is rice.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, those are, and coleslaw. We're big on the coleslaw. My kids love coleslaw. So, I always break out the old cabbage and work on that.
You have cabbage ready in the garden to go?
I don't have any I have a bunch in the freezer. So it's going to be just fine for some coleslaw.
Really?
Yeah.
It'll be okay if you.
Yeah. Why wouldn't it be? Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it would be different.
I think it'll be all right. Well, it's the first year I froze it, but I did pull some out and make some sauerkraut with some that was frozen. And it was great. It worked perfect.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I have some cabbage in the garden still that I'll probably pull to make some coleslaw, because my husband loves coleslaw.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I gotta start trying to. I watched a video the other day, and somebody was storing cabbage in their root cellar, just storing it like that, and this was several months into it, and it still looked good. Like they said, you might have to remove 2 or 3 layers of leaves, but then everything in the middle is perfect. And I was like, I got to start doing that. That seems like such an easier way to do it.
So I've seen where people they pull up a lot of the root with it.
Mm-hmm.
They wash off the root and they hang it upside down from the root in their root cellar.
Yeah. I don't know if he was. I can't even remember what he was storing it in. I think, did he have it in salt? I think maybe he had it in sawdust. But anyway, it looked great. He pulled a couple out and said, these couple out, he pulled a couple of the leaves back and showed, and this was I think in February or something, or March. And I'm like, wow, that's impressive. So it stored really well without freezing it. So
this would save you some freezer space.
Yeah. I might look into trying to store it in the basement or something like that. One of these days, I just love to build a big old root cellar outside, like a really nice one.
That's on my dream list.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I might have to get that book. We talked about that book a while back. There was a book you shared one time when we were talking about some resources. Yeah, I might have to try to get that book and look into that a little bit. I might get the shovel out, start digging.
My stepfather has it right now because he's in the works of making one. Yep.
I'd love to make one, a really nice one, something really usable.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe one day.
Great.
One day. Well, they're kind of the favorite side dishes for us. We of course, there's always mashed potatoes, green beans, coleslaw. We'll break out some fruits. I might pull out some canned pears or something like that, and we'll have that on the side.
Not from the garden.
No, we don't really grow cranberries here, but there's some berries though. I mean, we have I have frozen raspberries and blackberries and things like that. I could definitely make some things, or make some toppings for some pies or something like that with it. Or, you could definitely do some things with it if you wanted to pull those out and make use of them.
We usually pull out some applesauce.
But now I'm thinking about all this sweet stuff, and it's making me think about the desserts, my favorite part.
Favorite part.
But you're limited on the desserts.
Yes,
I'm limited on them too most of the year. I
can make dessert. They just don't look like everybody else's dessert.
Yeah, I don't care, like I said, how much sugar it's got on Thanksgiving Day. I'll eat it. I don't care. I'm all like I said, all health is out the window for one day. I don't care. But anything particular you like to make for Thanksgiving on desserts?
Pumpkin pie and pumpkin roll.
Do you make that from pumpkins, or do you buy the?
No, I make it from a pumpkin.
You actually cut the pumpkins and make your own.
We actually use squash, which is actually what it usually is at the store.
Yeah,
it's less watery. We've found that it's less watery than a pumpkin.
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's a whole issue with canning pumpkins. versus squash. So you're using canned squash or you're using fresh squash?
I'm using fresh squash.
Okay.
But I'm not using pumpkin.
But you could.
To make pumpkin pie. I could. But usually I use butternut squash and not pumpkin. Pumpkin, unless I could get, this year I do have one pie
squash
pumpkin.
to make your pumpkin pie.
Yes, and most of the store pumpkin, most of
do you have that
that
recipe in here? Did you share that recipe?
No,
it's
easy. It's just all you do is cook the squash.
I have tons of butternut squash, and
it's the same amount. You cook the squash, and it's your canned squash at the store is usually a 15-ounce can. You just use 15 ounces of cooked squash instead.
So you basically roast it and then scoop it out and then
so I cut it in half, take the seeds out, you put it in the oven and bake it
to soften it up,
scoop it out, and then I'll run it through the food mill or food processor or whatever. And sometimes if it's a little waterier, it just depends, I'll maybe try to cook it down a little bit to get that thicker consistency. But
does it taste like traditional pumpkin pie when you cook it like that, when you make it like that? Or does it everybody loves it? Do you taste the butternut squash? Does it taste like butternut squash, or does it taste more like pumpkin?
By the time you put the eggs and the sugar and the spices in, it tastes just like pumpkin pie.
Really?
Because at the store, it's usually butternut squash or what was the other one? It's almost never pumpkin.
A lot of canned pumpkin isn't pumpkin. Right. You're absolutely right.
It's not pumpkin. So
because there's an issue with canning. It's not recommended to can because it doesn't, when it's in that consistency anyway, pureed, it doesn't it's not supposed to can it because it doesn't heat all the way to the middle. But if you cube it though, I've heard that's safe.
If you wanted to can pumpkin, if you wanted to store it, which I stopped canning stuff like that only because I've had a butternut squash last almost a year. So I just put it in my basement.
Yeah. I have a whole shelf.
But you can just peel it and cube it up and can it that way.
Oh wow! Yeah. See, I'm such a big butternut squash fan. I pretty much I grow all this butternut squash. I put it on. I fill up this whole shelf, like 4 shelves high of butternut squash, because I like the soup. I make so much butternut squash soup through the winter. I love it. I mean, it's my favorite soup. So probably once a week, maybe every once or 2 weeks, I'm making a big old pot of butternut squash soup. But now I'm thinking.
Pumpkin roll.
Pumpkin pie made out of butternut squash sounds pretty stinking good. So I might have to go with this.
Pretty good.
That sounds great. Yeah,
maybe not quite as good for you as the soup, though.
Probably not, but it's Thanksgiving. I don't care. It's fine.
But yeah, so I can find the recipe for making it. It's pretty simple. It's pretty.
Sounds like it. I mean, sounds like it. I'm gonna try that. Now, since you're a celiac, do you make like the your own pie shell or pie?
So I have done both. I've done it without a pie shell, and I've just made the pumpkin and put it in a pie shell or a pie pan with no crust.
Oh, okay.
A crustless one. I've done that in the past, but of course everybody always likes a crust.
Have you thought about using your sourdough to try to make a pie shell?
I have not thought about doing that, but because I have this good recipe for pumpkin pie that I've been using for a while. Boy, we have a lot of recipes linked here. And we like it. It's actually a grain-free pumpkin pie recipe.
Okay.
So we use the crust for that, and everybody has liked it that's had to eat it. Of course, the other people in our family get the real pumpkin pie. But
have you ever made a pie shell out of grinding nuts?
I have, but not for pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I mean, you use walnuts and pecans, and you just grind them up and then make a pie shell out of it. Yeah, we've done that before too. Yeah.
I make a chocolate pie that we use nuts for the base. Yeah. Yep.
I can't remember. My wife's made one of those a couple times, but I can't remember what kind of pie it is now. But yeah, she's used the nuts
They're pretty good
for the shell. Yeah, the shell's great. I love it because I like to eat those things. Yeah. Well, how about pumpkin roll? You make pumpkin roll also?
Yeah. Yep. And that's also gluten-free. And I have had to make it dairy-free before too, depending on who's which is interesting. So when I make it gluten-free, you just make the pumpkin roll. There's a recipe for it. But when I make it dairy-free, I use just a vanilla icing or vanilla frosting instead of a cream cheese frosting.
Okay. Until a couple years ago, believe this or not, I had never eaten a pumpkin roll.
Really? They're
until
good.
just a couple years ago.
They're so
Well, I'll
yummy.
tell you what convinced me to eat one. I had Melissa K. Norris on the podcast.
Okay.
And she had just written her book, Handmade, which has, and I asked her, and I didn't have the book yet. I said, what's your favorite recipe in that book? And she said,
pumpkin roll.
the pumpkin roll recipe. And it was like her
that's
grandmother's or something, I think. And so I got the book and we made that pumpkin roll, and we've made it ever since. I love it.
They're
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. So if anybody wants to pick up that book, I'll have a link in the show notes for that book also, if you want to check that book out, because she's got a fantastic pumpkin roll recipe in there.
Yeah, and the pumpkin pie recipe, I actually have. Now, I've never interviewed her. I should try to get an interview with her. That would be really fun. But I have, it's against the grain. So she's actually really popular for people like that eat paleo and gluten-free and grain-free. And why is her name escaping me?
Because you're on a podcast and you're under the gun to say her name.
Exactly. Oh, shoot.
That's
I'll remember it. I'll remember it when it comes up. But yeah, she has some really good. She has several cookbooks, and her recipes. Like at Christmas time, I make her sugar cookies, and I've made her sugar cookies and decorated them for people for baby showers, and really, she has really good stuff. So
yeah, sounds good. What is pumpkin pie your favorite pie?
It is. Believe it or not, this is going to sound really funny. It's the only pie I like. The
only pie you like. You don't like apple pie? You like apples?
Nope.
Don't
I like
apple
apples,
pie,
but I don't like apple pie.
My favorite pie is strawberry rhubarb pie.
Oh.
And it's like my only hardcore request every year for Thanksgiving is like, we're going to have strawberry rhubarb pie because I love it so much. It's like the only time of the year I eat it too. It's like we have that stuff in the freezer. We'll drag out because we froze a bunch of rhubarb and we froze a bunch of strawberries. So we drag it all out and we make us a from scratch strawberry rhubarb pie. And I love it. It's my favorite pie, but I only eat it once a year. I don't know why.
I use all my strawberries and rhubarb to make jam. So
we do the jam too, but I love what's left needs to go into that pie. I need to save enough for that pie every year because I love it on Thanksgiving. And like I said, I don't know why, but I only eat it once a year and we eat it right at Thanksgiving. Have it every year. And I love it. And we always have apple pie also and pumpkin pie. And I think
your pumpkin roll.
But pumpkin roll. Actually, we don't make it for Thanksgiving. We just make it throughout the year.
Okay.
But also something, of course, that don't come from our pantry, but we always buy one is pecan pie because we love pecan pie also, but we don't have the means to make that from the pantry, of course, but it's really good and we love it. So we always have one of those sitting on the shelf as well. Cause we always have a few pies, for everybody to dive into.
That's a lot of pie.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that come over. So, and
I did remember her name. It is Danielle Walker.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah. Yep. Oh, what website's that?
Against All Grain.
Okay.
Yep. A lot of people that have food issues and stuff. She's got great cookbooks and great recipes.
Okay. So. Yeah. There you go. Well, we also try to make use of some of our apples. You don't make an apple pie because you don't like apples pie. So
no, I don't.
So you don't like apple pie. So you're not making apple pie. Do you make any other pies other than your pumpkin pie?
I don't, though I probably should because my husband, on the other hand, loves pie, like any kind of pie. If it's pie, he likes it. So I should probably make an apple pie.
Do you make sweet potato pie?
Nobody likes it.
Do you make sweet potato crisp or sweet potato casserole?
We just make sweet potatoes. We'll bake them.
We like some people call it sweet potato casserole. Some people call it sweet potato crisp. I don't know if those are two different things. We call it casserole, but I've had people call it crisp.
Is it the one with the marshmallows in it?
No.
Okay. What is it?
Well, it does. I think we've had it both ways. I think we have had it before with the marshmallows, but I think it's just a crisp. It's like an apple crisp, but it's a sweet potato crisp. But it's sweet. Of course, there's sugar put in it and stuff, everything also that makes it really good. But yeah, I think the sweet potato crisp is the one I'm thinking of that I really like.
Do you put really like a crumble on the top?
Yeah, it's kind of like a crumble on the top of it. Okay. Yeah, it's really good. That's a real favorite of mine. But I think I like cinnamon baked apples even better.
Those are pretty good. Yeah.
You can really tell the dessert's my favorite part of Thanksgiving, can't you?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I really like the turkey.
I do too, but I speed through all that so I can get to the dessert. I probably don't savor it like I should because I see those pies sitting over there, the cinnamon apples and all the stuff. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
they're so yummy though.
I got to hurry up and get to that.
Apples.
And
so what do you do? How do you do yours? Do you just like peel them and core them and then put like nuts and sugar and spices?
Cinnamon and pretty much. Yeah, there's like a glaze. I don't know. My wife makes them with the glaze. I don't know what she makes the glaze out of, but really good. So you're asking the wrong person, but I can't get her to tell me anything. But I think there's a recipe in here because I asked her about this recipe. She says, yeah, that's how I make it. I think I put one in here because I was asking her some questions and there's one in here. She says, yeah, that's how I make it. So, because I was trying to include some recipes in the show notes, just like you did, just some things. Because like I said, I can follow a recipe and make this stuff, but she's the one that does it usually. But yeah, those are kind of the desserts that I can't wait to dive into.
Yeah. And I mean, I put down, so everything here is basically from scratch. So I put like even my pumpkin pie spice, I make my own blend and so I put the recipe in the show notes for that. The brined turkey is actually from the Bearded Butchers. I don't know if you've ever watched
them. Yeah, I've heard them. Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they have a nice YouTube channel and I put a link in the show notes for their video on the turkey and a couple of these recipes call for a gluten-free flour blend. I actually don't use that. I kind of wing it, but I put a recipe for that. I didn't know if there was anybody that was kind of new to cooking gluten-free, and it's kind of overwhelming when you first start. Yeah,
I would think so. It sounds overwhelming, actually.
Yeah, you don't just use one flour. Usually a mix is the best approach with gluten-free. And I also put egg replacers. So we have an egg allergy. So
okay. Yeah.
So we have gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, and sometimes other-free when we have. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. But so your Thanksgiving looks a lot different than ours because
well, I mean, we have all the same food. It just has to be made differently.
Yeah.
Like, we have a lot of the similar. So like when we make our for example, when I make the pumpkin roll, which calls for eggs, thankfully the person that's allergic to chicken eggs is not allergic to duck eggs. Isn't that odd? But that happens for some people.
Yeah, I think that's common, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I have duck eggs frozen in the freezer, which I do this year, I'll use those. But if not, I will use egg replacer, or I have used a gelatin egg, which is literally just gelatin. And so I put the recipe. You know what? I need to put the recipe for making a gelatin egg, but I put links in for the egg replacer and gelatin that we've used, but it definitely does get a little more complicated.
Yeah. I mean, everything does when you're trying to cook healthy, it seems like in some cases, but then again, you're cooking from scratch. So it's just a little bit more work and a little more you're putting into it. And I also we included some instructions and recipes for cooking heritage breed turkey and ham and things because they're a little different. And if you want it to come out the best, which some of you, there's some folks out there that maybe this was the first year they raised a turkey, or maybe this first year they bought a heritage breed turkey and they're saying, okay, how should I cook it? So there's some suggestions in there. This actually, I shared one from marthastewart.com, and that is actually the one that we used and it was really good. Someone told us that shared that with us, and we actually used that, and it was really, really good. So it's the very last
for the turkey.
Yeah, the heritage breed turkey recipe, nice. And it came out really delicious. So
she has some good recipes.
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
one of our favorites. She has a macaroni and cheese that you use butternut squash in. It's amazing.
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah. But yeah, we'll include all these in the show notes. But I thought we would close today. We got all these links here and everything. And we talked about some of our favorite recipes. But just like Thanksgiving at our houses, we like to share about the things that we're thankful for on the homestead. And, when I think about homesteading, there's some things about homesteading I'm really thankful for. And how about you? Are there some things that when you can think about life as a homesteader?
Yeah. Oh, man. For me, it's time that I get to spend with my husband. We spend a lot of time together doing homesteading stuff. So like we really enjoy that. And it's also for us about just being outside and better health. And we're thankful that we're just thankful that we're blessed that we have property even though we have a quarter of an acre, I'm not, I have somewhere to put a pot and a plant. And so I'm thankful for that. And yeah.
Yeah, I think the same thing with me. Family is really important, and I think homesteading has brought our family closer together in some ways, and even though my kids don't live at home anymore, I mean, when they're here, we're out in the garden and we're playing around. I get the grandkids out there, and I'm really thankful for that kind of those times. I get to, not only spend it with them, but also share with them some knowledge of how to do it. And I'm thankful for that opportunity to be able to do that. And the food, of course, I feel like the food saved my life. So I'm obviously thankful for it, that it's a healthy food, and it's, and I'm just thankful that we're able to grow it and have it. And it's done a lot for my health and for the health of our family. And, this is going to sound weird, but I'm thankful. We oftentimes think about, boy, I think I was born in the wrong era or the wrong time, and how, but then I think I'm also thankful that we're blessed to live in a time where knowledge is so available. Like I can jump on YouTube or a podcast and I can gain all this information so easily to be able to do so many things. And that sounds weird, but that has been a major influence on me homesteading. And I'm thankful for that it's out there, it's available, so I guess that's something I'm really thankful for.
Yeah. And that's where one of the things I was thinking, like, I'm really thankful for our roots as Americans. Like the spirit of homesteading, I think, is kind of part of American culture. And so I think, but what's different now is, and what the modern homesteading podcast is about, is we're marrying that together with the technology that we now have, which is the ability to get on YouTube, the ability to have books at our fingertips, the ability to go online and search things, electric fences. Those things all make our life, a lot easier. And you were talking earlier about water pumps coming on and, timers. And so I think, we can still live with one foot back in that homesteading and one foot in modern life, and still enjoy that. And I think one of the things I neglected to say, I'm actually thankful for us homesteading here in the suburbs right now, has created such a sense of community. I think our road that we live on, I think everybody would just drive by and not really talk to each other. But since we have a garden, it's kind of become a gathering place where people walk by and stop and talk. Yeah.
That's funny you say that, because I'm not a person who gets out there and just, has conversations with my neighbors normally. But I would say in the last year, especially, every conversation I've had with one of my neighbors has been out here in my garden.
Yeah, over the fence, right? Yeah.
Well, I don't have a fence there. They just walk right up into my garden area while I'm after working in it and talk to me. And it's like literally the only conversations I end up having with my neighbors anymore are in my garden. They stop and they walk up in there and they just talk to me while I'm working in my garden. And it does. You're right. There would be absolutely, with me, there would probably be almost no conversation if it wasn't for that garden.
Yeah, similar. I mean, we're both introverted. My husband's also, you're introverted. My husband's also introverted. So we're not one of those, we don't seek out conversations.
Right. Don't run from it, but I'm not out there looking for it either.
Right. Yeah, but it really has. I just see it a lot. I mean, the neighbors across from us have a big driveway, so they drive truck. And because they drive truck. And so between their big driveway and our garden, I've just seen an increase in the last couple of years where people stand out there and talk because there's enough room to do it. And our garden gets lots of people will stop and ask, and I'll hand them a tomato, or a cucumber. And,
that's awesome. I had my granddaughter walk a bag of food down to one of the neighbor's house and set it on the porch the other day. She's only 4 years old. And I'm like, but I could see her. I'm like, let's take it down there and put it on that porch right there and give that to them. It was a bunch of peppers. This was a couple months ago, but it was just kind of funny that, you can send the grandkids down there, share some of that food and build some relationships. And that's important and that's good. And I love that.
So we're out in our yard too. I don't know if it's just the garden or if it's just, we're out in the yard and it's like an opportunity. They're walking their dog or they're taking a walk and it's like, oh, hi, how are you? Where do you live at? Oh, I live down, and I would have never met them before because they live like 10 houses down, not 2.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to be thankful for with the homestead, just the opportunities and I'm thinking about just now the drought we had this year and how and yet still so much provision, things just still worked out, and, we're able to have a fair crop and put a lot of stuff up. And, in a lot of ways, for a lot of things, I had the best year I ever had in a garden. And there was a few things that suffered and that didn't come out as well, but all in all, I wasn't disappointed in it, even with the severe dry spell we had for so long. And still blessed. So
and I mean, and without modern technology and without homesteading, you or I wouldn't be here.
There you go. I feel that way. Yeah, I really feel that way.
Yeah,
that homesteading kind of saved my life, and you feel that way too. So
I do.
Yeah, so we're pretty thankful for our homesteads and what it's brought into our lives. And Thanksgiving's we should probably think about that every day, but Thanksgiving's a real time, a good time to really focus on that and actually say it out loud. So that's what we thought we'd do today. Yeah, share a few things we're really thankful for, and of course we're thankful for much more, I'm sure. But those are just some things that come to our mind when it comes to homesteading. So, I feel like we kind of maybe made people hungry and made them think about what they're going to have on their Thanksgiving plates this year. And that's a good thing. And I think some of the resources we shared for recipes and some books and things like that are going to be really valuable. And the folks can head to the show notes and get all that information. I guess other than that, we'll say have a great Thanksgiving. All right.
Yes. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy homesteading, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. And in the meantime,
grow where you're planted.
Looking around, I finally see I think I need a change. The rat race, I wanna flee. My world I'll rearrange. I'm getting back to the roots of how it's meant to be. Growing gardens, picking fruit, racing livestock, living free. It's a modern homestead. Build a modern homestead. A lot of folks don't understand why I wanna live this way. They've never eaten from their land like we do here every day. Snapping beans like Grandma did, sitting on her front porch. Hunting and fishing like a kid once you've done all of your chores. It's a modern homestead. Build a modern homestead. Country or city, there's a way to make this change. You gotta start today.